Well, you gotta love the human jukebox. A pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Today's guest menu looks like this. Joining us early, co-host on today's show, Coach Van Pettaway steps in. He's in the starting lineup. Look forward to visiting with Coach Pettaway very shortly. Also, from WAFB TV, uh, Channel 9, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Kevin Batiste. He will join us. You know, he visited with us last week. He's back for another uh, edition here on the Carlos Brown Show. Then we'll be joined by Jim Kleinpeter. He covers Southern University athletics for the Advocate. He's on the print side. Then, along with Jim, will be Pat Timlin of NBC 33 and Fox 44. I'll have both of them in together. We're kind of going around the local media here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, getting their thoughts on this upcoming Southern University football season. Then last but not least, Willa Brown. He'll join us in hour number 2. Here's simply what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. We're going to get into Southern University football post-scrimmage. Some of the highlights. Harold Blood is your number 1 starter for Southern University. Also, Coach Buddy Pugh, congratulations. He announces his retirement after the 2023 season. Over 40-plus years in the business. He deserves to go out at his liking. And he's decided to call it the day. So, Coach Pugh, you deserve this. And by the way, he kicks off the 2023 football season, the Cricket Wireless SWAC MEAC Challenge in Atlanta on national TV, 6:30 Central Standard Time, ABC/ESPN. That's simply what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. We're going to now be joined by Coach Van Pettaway. And there he is, Coach Pettaway. You are in the starting lineup today. Good morning. How you doing, sir?
Well, it's nice. A lot of times when you come off the bench, anytime a coach puts you in to start, you show your appreciation and you got to be ready to go. I'm looking forward to the day, and you've already talked about some great things. I was also had an opportunity to read up on Coach Pugh announcing that he was this would be his last season. I got an opportunity to meet him firsthand when he came to visit. He interviewed at Alabama A&M before we hired Anthony Jones as a football coach.
Wow.
So I got a chance to sit down and talk with him when he came in on his visit. So I do know him, and he's a nice guy. And he's one of the true legends when it comes to football. I think his record speaks for itself. I think he's had over 147 wins at South Carolina State. He is definitely the all-time leading winner there at South Carolina State. And he comes from a great background because he was assistant coach for Coach Jeffries. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, he was at University of South Carolina under Lou Holtz. So the pedigree is there. And for him to go back to his alma mater and do the things that he's done, he deserves to go out on his own accord. And,
yes.
I'm glad to see that because a lot of times in the HBCUs, you don't as a coach, you don't go out on your own accord. They more or less show you the door, and then but he's doing it the right way. He has mentored and helped a lot of guys a lot of young men over his career. So hats off to him, and I hope he enjoys the next stage of his life, which is retirement, because God has guided him through these 47 years on the football field. Now he has said, let's turn the page. There's another chapter for you. And so I hope Coach Pugh, I wish him much success after.
Yeah, Coach, I think you said it well. When I think of Coach Pugh, some words that come to mind. Toughness, meaning he's tough and his teams were tough. Physical. I only got a chance to see South Carolina State in person a couple of times, but when the announcement came, I was reminded of the SWAC MEAC Challenge that was in Baton Rouge, and the weather was really hot. I enjoyed the game in the press box, but Coach Pugh team, they were tough, they were
Yep.
physical, and I go back to one particular play. South Carolina State surprised the heck out of me. They did a play action pass, and the receiver was wide open. No one was within 5 yards. Obviously, Coach Pettaway had blown assignment on the
Yep.
defensive side, and the receiver dropped the ball. I think he was thinking about, oh, I'm so wide open,
Yep.
a touchdown, and he dropped it. The whole stadium just gasped. And I went around the press box doing this, the cross sign. We had just got a blessing because he
Yep.
dropped that pass. But, with Coach Pugh and then seeing him in the Celebration Bowl and just first class
Yep.
professionalism, you
Yep.
can use those words. And I, I don't have any kids, but if I would have had a son and he was being recruited by Coach Pugh at South Carolina State, I would have no problems with that recruitment because those are just some of the words when you think of Coach Pugh. So somehow I think he still will be around, even in retirement. He'll be involved in something, but it will be on his own terms. So,
You're
uh,
right.
Coach Pugh, enjoy your retirement, but he's going to work in war today
Oh yeah.
against
And,
Jackson
and,
State.
and Carlos, that's the other thing now. With him announcing that Thursday morning, and it lit a fire on his players. So now those players are probably going to take it up a notch because they love their coach and they probably want their coach to go out on the winning side. And so that's going to put a little more juice in that game tonight against Jackson State. So Jackson State better be ready for that emotional aspect of it with Coach Pugh's players rallying behind him to send him off into a glorious retirement. So I think I think that's going to probably last for this entire season. But you can definitely expect those kids to be fired up tonight.
Yeah, you'll get the best shot from South Carolina State. Last time we talked with the audience at Southern University, as we were on the air, they were going through a scrimmage, and they went at 9 o'clock. And Coach Pettaway, I'm sure in Huntsville, this dome that just doesn't want to move. It's been brutal, and
Yep.
Southern got through it with no problem. It goes to say that this program, their strength and conditioning coach and all his assistants, they've done a great job. They got through it, and when I tell you, even at around the time that they finished, probably around 11, right before 11, in Baton Rouge, I mean, it's like 96, 97 already at that time, and the heat index is well in triple digits. But Harold Blood, he has put his official stamp on this football team going against the number 2 and 3 defense. He was 27 of 38, and he could have had 31 completions, 4 drops, but for 377 yards. Now, look, I get it. Well, you're going against the second or third team, but most importantly, you're going against your team. They know your strengths and weakness. But Coach Pettaway, that's still, you just can't just shoo that under the rug. 377 yards passing, and we're going to show some highlights in a minute. Some big plays from that scrimmage show. It's kind of like a dress rehearsal. Now it's game week. This time next week, Southern, with a lot of teams, are going to kick off their football season. But Coach, the quarterback is like the point guard in
Oh yes.
basketball on the team. He's grasped this team. He's put a stamp on it, and he told me privately that this football team, and he's been a part of it for several years now, this seems to be the closest this season that the teammates, all of them, it's a camaraderie, and he appreciates that.
Right. Well, even in a scrimmage, what you're looking at, he's getting the ball where it needs to go. In other words, for him to have that type of completion percentage and also the number of yards, that means that he's distributing the football well and he's getting it to the people now. And I'm quite sure that the coaching staff is pleased with him reading his progressions and getting through this. So even though it's a scrimmage, you still see positive things that will carry over into their first game next week. And, this is an exciting time of the year for all of the HBCUs because everybody's gearing it up. They're down to their last week of practice before they get a chance to hit somebody in a different color uniform. And those kids and those athletes, they're looking for that because, they've paid the price. Their off-season workout programs, the summer workouts, and now fall camp. So they're looking forward to seeing putting everything that they've learned, putting it into action next week. And in South Carolina State and Jackson State's case today. And see, going back to Jackson State, Coach Taylor, I saw him in an interview earlier this morning, and he said he's not going to name his starting quarterback until game time. So he's waiting until the last minute before he tips his hat.
Yeah, well, in my humble opinion, I think he knows. Well, I know he knows.
Well, yeah. He says he knows, right?
I'll take a stab at it. I think it's Jason Brown. No relations, but what can Brown do for you?
Yeah.
Back to Southern, and a great point, Coach Pettaway. 103 play scrimmage. Coach Julie said blood went out and ran the offense. I wanted him to run. He took it under his wing. You can't be Coach Dooley if you got to do what Coach Dooley says. So just a lot of big plays, getting through it healthy, 27 of 38, 377 yards, as I stated earlier. And here's another quote by Coach Dooley. He says, even when he has to get outside the pocket, he understands he's got to keep his eyes downfield, knowing he can make a play downfield or may have to run it. That makes me, and I'm not saying that they are the same type of players, but those words made me think of the late, great McNair.
Steve McNair.
He was dangerous. I mean, he was a tremendous athlete, but he always had his eyes down the field. And I saw him make a couple of big plays when, the DBs, they're taught not to be looking in the backfield. Well, he's scrambling and running around. Whoops. Eyes got caught looking down there, and then whoop, he throws the ball down the field.
Right.
So
yeah, they extend plays, and that's what Steve was known for, getting out of the pocket. And then that reminds me of a story. My first time seeing him was in Dallas. We Alabama A&M played Alcorn in Dallas for this classic that they had out there that year. That was his coming out party. He destroyed us out there in Dallas. So he was a great guy. And then if he's seeing down the field the way McNair was, then you all got somebody special down there calling those signals.
Well, again, I'm not saying that they're the same type of player.
Right.
Because Steve McNair was outstanding, probably a once in a 30-year athlete to come through the conference. But you like the development of Harold Blood. And I'll just be honest, I didn't know what to think coming into the fall camp. I've stated that the quarterback room is much better compared to last year, but I'm impressed with the development of Harold Blood. And now we'll get a chance to see him going up against players with a different uniform next Saturday against a very tough Alabama State defensive team. But the development is there, and you like to see that. And then taking leadership of this football team. And Coach, when you look at fall camps, it's not only physical, but it also maybe more so, and you could speak on it, is more so mental, because after a couple of weeks, you run into a wall. It's hot. The body's getting tired. But then you've got to push through, similar to in basketball, when you're getting ready for the season.
Right. And see, what happens is during the summer camp, you're there by yourself. Most of the time, the only people on campus are your fall athletes and maybe your band. And then, when you hit that wall, you get rejuvenated when the regular students come on campus. So now that's uplifting. And then in football's case, the week leading up to the first game, that's another adrenaline rush that they enjoy. So, timing is everything. And having that scrimmage last week in the morning, here in Huntsville, it was so hot, they didn't scrimmage until Saturday evening. They didn't get out there until 6:30. So this is the time of year that the players, they look forward to game week. And so, starting to today, for most of them, this starts their game preparation for next Saturday. So they're looking forward to this, and it's time for them to hit and see somebody else in a different color uniform besides your own.
You're absolutely right. And on that note, we're going to take our first time out. When we come back, we'll see if we can find Kevin Batiste. And also, we'll play a little footage for you of Harold Blood and the scrimmage last week. Some big plays. Oh, and look, Coach Pettaway, by the way, Gary Qualls Jr., you know that name.
Oh, yeah.
He had a big 65-yard run for a touchdown, and you're just excited. Let the games begin. Let's see what happened. Up, there you go. Batiste is ready to go, but we'll come back with it after timeout, and we'll save that footage, and we'll be joined by our first guest, Kevin Batiste, here on the Carlos Brown Show. Quick timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
T. Madden & Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden & Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden & Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum design for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Visiting with now Kevin Batiste, back to back in 2 weeks. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. Coach Pettaway, nice to meet you.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing, man?
Man,
Doing
Kelvin looks like he's enjoying a somewhat cool morning in Baton Rouge. But of course, it's going to be smoking in a little bit.
Can you get cool in Baton Rouge this time of the year?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't plan on breaking out the winter clothes until probably Christmas. But
yeah.
But hey, Carlos, you mentioned me staying cool, relaxed. Look, this is my off day. This is my last Saturday of freedom until late December because we know college football is about to take all that over, which I don't mind. But I got to take full advantage of this day.
Yeah.
The grind starts.
That's right. the last break before it will be a break around Christmas time. But first and foremost, Kevin, got a chance to check out the special last week. Outstanding. And wanted to say that. And then, too, a little bit more, we'll get into a little bit more conversation about the last scrimmage that Southern University had. But just your initial thoughts now, a week later, of what you witnessed as far as Southern and kind of fall camp coming to an end.
Well, the initial thought is these guys are ready to hit somebody else, like every other team. And you get to that point of going against each other, you want to see somebody else in another uniform. But as far as the team camaraderie is great. Everything's coming together. I would say since I've been covering the team in 2021, I've never seen a Southern team rally around their quarterback like this. As far as Harold Blood and his leadership, his command, everybody respects him. Everybody likes him. I went to a practice this past week. He got awarded a jersey number 1. I'm guessing number 1 means something like, leader, most skilled, whatever. But I guess he's going to make that jersey change this year, number 1. So, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the signal caller of this team.
And, that's interesting because he told me maybe a week ago via Instagram that he's been in the program, a few years now. But he said this is the closest that this team has been, in his opinion, since he's been there. And so, to your point, I think that's important. And then he went out and was 27 to 38, apparently, for 377 yards. But it should have been 31 completions because apparently had some drops. But he has put his signature on this football team. I think we may have lost Kevin.
Okay, but you know what? But Carlos, anytime your team rallies behind your quarterback or your point guard, you know that you got something special there. And so I know Coach Dooley and his staff have to be real pleased to see that. And then for Harold to say that, during his time with him being a grad student, him saying that this is one of the better, this team is close, that's a good sign, man. That's a good sign. And so the preseason prognosticators may be right. It might be Southern's year to win the West. And I know when you start a season, you don't want to really put everything into what the predictions are because you have to actually go out on the field and perform. But that's a good sign. That is a very good sign. So you all might be in for a pretty good year when it comes to football.
Well, and then too, Coach, it's always high expectations. Every football program, every sports program, they have high expectations. Sometimes, how do you deal with those expectations? Particularly when you're picked to win a division and compete for a championship. Alcorn State picked second. Prairie View has high expectations. Texas Southern. What do you look at in a team? And we got Kevin back. What do you look at in a team early on that has high expectations? Do you look for a a single leader, or you look at multiple leaders? Do you look at how the mental makeup of this football team is? What goes into looking at players to be able to handle those high expectations?
Well, I think what you look for that leadership, and you know, with Blood being the quarterback and the teammates rallying around him, then he is one of the leaders on that offensive side of the football. But your quarterback has to lead the entire team. But I'm quite sure they got some leaders over there on the defensive side of the ball too. And there are other guys there are other team captains that are helping them when it comes to this leadership thing. But you look for them to see if they handle the expectations, you know, doing their training, doing practice. Are they doing the things that they need to do to progress from day to day and from week to week? That's what you look for as a coach. You look for progression after each practice and after each week. You just want your team to be building towards something special, and in this case, toward that opening game. So they're off to a great start. And I like I said, Jaguar Nation has got an opportunity to look forward to a great season because it seems as if everything is coming together. And you know, I've got a chance to see Greg Quarles doing his time here at Alabama A&M. So I know you all are getting a good back. He has really helped. He's going to really help the running back room at Southern University.
Kevin, welcome back. We were kind of talking about expectations. During your process of covering the football team, do the guys talk about expectation and how important it is to be able to handle those expectations?
Not really, because they already know what the standard is at Southern.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I ask them all the time. I mean, this is the second year that they have been predicted to win the SWAC West, and they're like, okay, that's another year. That's just, you know, that's what fans come to expect around here. And like I said, whenever you haven't won a championship in the last 10 years, that obviously ups the ante. So I mean, as far as, you know, what is expected out of the team and all that stuff, they don't need to talk about that. I'm pretty sure Dooley probably doesn't even preach it to him much. It's just about going 1-0 every week, as he calls it.
Yeah. And I've heard that saying. But with that being said, those expectations are still there. They may not talk about it. And I guess I'm wondering, I guess maybe they don't spend much time thinking about it, but subconsciously it's there. We know the fans talk about it.
Absolutely.
I mean, and you could go, let's say, God forbid, they go 0-3. You know how the fans' reactions will be. It will be almost, okay, it's time to start giving people pink slips, which I don't agree with that. But you get my point.
Absolutely.
I just wanted the expectations and again, how they're going to handle it. But win the week, go 1-0. That's the motto.
Yeah, and again, I mean, like I said, what Dooley and this team has gone through over the last 2 years, I mean, like I said, there really ain't nothing to talk about. For Dooley himself, I mean, losing back-to-back SWAC championships, that should be enough right there. Exactly. And as far as the players, whenever you get thoroughly embarrassed in the SWAC championship like they did last year by the same team, not once, but twice, that's enough print material all you need.
Well, that sounds like motivation is what that word. Yeah. And particularly that second half was totally different. First half. But that was last year. I guess it's like a DB, Coach Pettaway. You got burnt on the play. You gave up a big touchdown. You can't think about it. It is what it is.
Next play.
If you're thinking about it, it could be a repeat. With that being said, Kevin, the scrimmage overall, some big plays. Gary Quarles Jr., the defense flying around, running backs. You had multiple backs. Kendrick Rhyme, of course, Gary Quarles Jr. They got a lot of the work in. Kobe Dillon didn't have the statistical story, but I think that maybe was on the situation where they want to look at Rhymes and Quarles and see their impact in the team. But offensively, running back room, they did well.
Yeah, these running backs are going to be something serious. Yeah, I mean, they all bring a little dynamic to the table. I mean, as far as whether it's, speed, power, agility, whatever. As far as Kobe Dillon, I feel like, I mean, obviously you don't want to, push him too hard because, I mean, he says that he feels like he's 100% recovered from that injury, but, in motion, it's probably a different thing. So I think they're probably still trying to, ease him back. But, I mean, Gary Quarles Jr., man, I mean, so far, I mean, that 65-yard touchdown run, he got the block from Travion Newsom, and it was good night, Irene, man. I mean, like, so far, I really like what I'm seeing from him. And Coach Dooley, as far as Kendrick Grimes, he says Kendrick Grimes kind of, his style kind of reminds him of like a Eric Dickerson type.
Yeah, he runs kind of upward.
Right.
But what I like about Kendrick Grimes and all the back, it seems like they're going to be an integral part in the in the passing game coming out of the backfield. And we've been talking about Harold Blood, but as we can see, Noah Bolton, I think he's entrenched as the number 2 starter. So you're usually God forbid, one injury away from a backup becoming a starter.
Yeah, man, and Bolton, like I said, he had his moments. He had that nice long play down the seam. Then he had the touchdown afterwards where him and Corey Russell kind of did some improv. He gave the ball to Corey Russell. Russell seen he was about to get wrapped up. He gave it back to Bolton. And Bolton scrambled to his left, drew some time, and found the wide open man in the end zone for a touchdown. So far, he's really good at improv. I heard you talking about Blood and his ability to extend plays. Bolton was showing some of that too, scrambling out to his right, making some throws across his body. So I feel like if Blood were to go down, I mean, Bolton is so far, he seems like a reliable option as a backup.
Yeah, and during fall camp, I always look at the battles. You like to see competition throughout the ranks, but those backups, they're so important. That number 2 unit, one injury away. If the starters are not playing well, when you give them a breather, which talking to the staff over the past 2 years that they've been there, they like to do that. Spell those first units. So it's important, those number 2 battles, which now they have settled on. So it'll be interesting to see them how they'll be implemented in the game plan each and every week. Kelvin, last question for you. Wide receiver core. We saw Quarles, number 83. I think that's going to be his number. Maybe it's 3 during the camp. But overall, the receivers and the young man who came in from Prairie View. Then they had another young guy, I think, with the second unit when Bolden was quarterback. He's a Grambling State transfer, at least from what they were telling me.
Yeah, Khalil Harris.
Yeah.
I think that's his name, yeah.
So, once again, the pieces are in place. It's just a matter of execution now and winning the week. But the wide receiver core, overall, I would have to say an upgrade from last year.
Yeah, man, it sure is talking that talk like it is. I mean, we interviewed Jalen Howard, and he said this is the best receiving core that he's been a part of.
And that's coming from Prairie View.
That's coming from Prairie View. Coach Dooley, usually most teams, well, all teams, you have a 1, 2, 3. They all feel like they can mix and match receivers. Like they can play, any type of guy, and he could be like a first-string caliber. So, you got the height. You got, the Cassius Allens of the world, the George Qualls, the Ed McGee's. You got the little short speed and Chandler Whitfield and Jalen Howard, Tyler Kirkwood. So it's going to be a lot of versatility, a lot of mixing and matching this receiving core. And like I said, and as long as Blood can get them the ball, the gunslinger that he is, the offense is going to be good.
Yeah. And I'll say this. I was watching the show on the Black College Sports Network, Game Time, and my colleagues, they are all interested in, and I guess rightfully so, who's going to be able to spin it? Who's going to be able to throw it? And they mentioned Harold Blood. I think Harold Blood and Noah Bolton have put their stamp on this football team. And there you have it, my colleagues. It's for Blood and Bolton to get it done in the execution. Kevin, appreciate it. Coming on your only Saturday off for a long time. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and hey, get ready. Football has officially started, and next week you'll be in Montgomery, Southern and Alabama State. What a way to kick off the season.
Oh, yeah. I'll have that good old smack in the face next week because I got to cover high school football on Friday.
Uh-oh.
I'll be on the road to Montgomery bright and early in the morning for that 5 o'clock kickoff. It'll get done.
Godspeed, then, and be safe, my brother.
Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a good one.
All right.
Take care, man.
That was Kevin Batiste of WAFV TV Channel 9. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Jim Kleinpeter at Timlin of NBC 33 and Fox 44. Of course, Jim Kleinpeter for The Advocate. Coach Pettaway, we'll get their thoughts on this upcoming season for the Jaguars and also their thoughts on the end of fall camp. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Welcome back to the Coach Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Coach Pettaway, I wonder can I get how hard will it be to get the jukebox to my favorite NBA team, the Miami Heat?
They need it. You're gonna need it down there because you're not gonna get little. So you better stand a better chance to get the jukebox down there.
Coach, it's gonna work out. We're gonna get Damian Lillard. But let me get to our next guest, Pat Timlin, NBC 33 and Fox 44, and of course Jim Kleinpeter, covers Southern University athletics for the Advocate. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the Coach Brown Show. And Jim, we finally got you back. No problems. Good seeing you.
I hope you can hear me.
Oh no, we got
All right, we're good.
Yeah, I love StreamYard. I'm sorry. Brian Fulford, the producer, turned me on to it. It is outstanding. Gentlemen, Southern University football camp is broken. This time next week, Alabama State coming up. This football camp, how has it been in your perspective? First, we'll go to Pat, then we'll come to Jim.
Well, I'm glad to see that Jim's in his Hawaiian shirt. That's how you know we're in full season mode now. You know, we're really getting after it. If this is one of his nicer ones too, he saves this just for special occasions. Like
you're wearing it 4 days now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's got a little luck in it. I think by the end of fall camp, you really saw this team coming together with an identity of who they are going to be this year. And we heard so much about a fast-paced offense, and you saw it at times. But man, the lows were a lot more common when you needed them than the peaks for that offense. And now it seems like they're a lot more even-keeled. Everybody understands the system, and it feels like everyone's believing in Blood being that guy. And I think by having a scrimmage where you have just the first team against the second team, it kind of in a way sets you up for a year where you're playing a lot of SWAC competition. You don't have the Florida Memorials coming into town week one that you can really go after and kind of show, hey, this is how dominant we're going to be. So you give the offense the 103 snaps along with the defense to, kind of get together and understand, hey, this is the speed, this is how intense we're going to play and how we're going to dominate. I think by kind of ending it on that note, it might not be the best for that second and third team unit, but for the first team, it kind of gave them that confidence. Like, okay, this is what we can do against competition we know we're better than. Let's see how it's going to go against the rest of the SWAC and really the season that they've got ahead of themselves.
So it sounds like, Pat, tempo, chemistry, and also I had another one in. You guys were out there. It's been brutally hot.
Yeah.
Condition, Jim. You made it. You didn't go down. I almost went down one time years ago, and it wasn't as hot then as it is now. But Jim, your thoughts on this fall camp?
Yeah, one of the things, I think this whole fall camp began with the way the team tanked at the end of last year. Mm-hmm. If anybody got a wake-up call, it was Eric Dooley. I think he thought, I don't know what he was thinking with Bashawn McRae, but it was obvious at the end of the season he wasn't leading the team, and he waited way too long to make a move. Well, I think he went into the offseason. He really worked the transfer portal hard. He went out. He even, I don't know if you remember this, but they thought they had a quarterback. He went after another quarterback who eventually flipped his commitment and went to South Dakota. I believe it was South Dakota. And so, he was serious. He didn't stop beating the bushes until the middle of the summer, and they came up with this guy, Rasheed Lyles from Louisiana Tech, who's going to be a good defensive tackle for him. But I think that one of the things Dooley said was, and I noticed this, I kind of got this sense from watching the scrimmage, they were in really good shape. And I think it's hard to do that your first months in the job as head coach. But having a full year to go through a whole year of conditioning, and you come back to that next summer and knowing what you're up against in week one, yeah, you better be in condition. And they did look like they were in condition. They didn't wilt during that scrimmage. He played a lot of people, but I think he could have played more. And I think he went with the guys he thinks he's going to go with this season. And they held up pretty much all day.
With that being said, me and Coach Pettaway talked about the importance, the significance of those backup players, the number 2 units. And Coach Dooley even shed some praise on the number twos. We've talked about it. It's very important. You're injury away. Sometimes a number one starter may not be playing as well as the coaches expect. How important, in you guys' opinion, those second unit players and their contribution to the football team?
Well, Jim, I think if you look at the outside last year, injuries caught them hard. Once Benny McRae went down, and then there were a couple more. There were guys who were on that second unit all fall camp that got kind of thrust into the spotlight. And I mean, there were times at Florida A&M, I can think of one where they're just running right by and getting wide open in the secondary. So I think, especially in kind of that position, is where that depth is the most needed.
Yeah, well, the number two guys, they play, they get rotated in unless, you've got a real superstar. You don't do it at quarterback, but I noticed last year Dooley was, and most teams don't do this with their offensive line, but he played 8 or 9 different offensive linemen, and a bunch of them started, and he believes in rotating at all the positions. So the twos have to be able to play. You got to, because they'll put them in the game, and they're not going to wait for an injury to put them in the game. They want to put them out there to get them some experience and let them, if they have enough faith in them, they'll put them out there. And that's what the number twos are. In fact, it was the number ones and twos against the rest of the team is the way it looked to me like that scrimmage broke down. So it wasn't ones versus twos except at quarterback. So yeah, those are the guys that played on the one team are the ones that are going to play all year, and some of those are twos, and they're going to have to play because you're going to get hurts. You're going to have minor hurts that last for the game. So I know they got a real good rotation at defensive tackle with 3 veteran players. They beefed up at the ends on defense. I like a lot of things about the Southern team, but we really won't know until September the 2nd.
And you know what, guys, it's interesting because I've been around a long time. Coach Richardson, you can tell Coach Dooley was under his tutelage. In the heyday when they were winning like 26, 27 straight conference games, 3 years in a row total, they would rotate those players in. Thus, I'm not surprised, but I just wanted to get your opinion on that because it's so important. But Coach Dooley, under Coach Richardson, they were famous for rotating those players in, albeit not only injuries, but just giving them those snaps. And again, I think it's just going to be very important. Speaking of
Carlos, a lot of times when you're playing multiple players, you're working on chemistry. You got to give the 2s and the 3s an opportunity to work with some of those other guys that they don't normally practice with and against. So you're working on chemistry. That's why you got to continue to put people in and out. And it's just like Jim and Pat said, the number 2s, they're going to get their reps in. It's those other guys that you got to find a way to get them in so that there's chemistry on that offensive line. There's chemistry with that quarterback. There's chemistry on the defensive side of the ball. When you bring in a third or fourth teamer and he can come in and play with those guys, that's what they're looking for, man. So you're developing your depth at the same time, but you got to have chemistry because they got to learn to work together in order for them to be successful. So I think, and with the Heat, you want to keep fresh people in, especially in the early part of the year. They're going to rotate. They'll be playing more people because they don't want to get wore down by the end of the game. So that's why you keep subbing and keeping fresh bodies on the field.
And also from a morale standpoint, knowing
right.
you're gonna participate and play. And boy, don't speak about the Heat. It's just been brutal. I've been getting text messages. You think they're gonna push back the starts of some of these games? I don't know. But they're playing at 5 p.m. next Saturday, Jim and Pat. I'm sure you guys will have your gate. Well, Jim, you'll be in the press box. Pat, you'll be back and forth, right?
I will be mainly on the field, and I think these practices, even being across town at other practices in the football realm all summer, is kind of. I'm a Chicago boy. through and through. I'm not built for this type of heat, but I've been getting used to it. And now it's getting me less used to the cold, if that is any consolation for everybody.
Guess what, Pat? I've been here all my life. I don't think you ever get used to this kind of heat, Jim. It's brutal. Additions and subtraction. And then earlier we were talking in the show, wide receivers and running backs. Quietly kept, maybe not. Running back room, I would consider it very good. In particular, you lost Ligon and you lost Sims, but the cupboard is not bare, guys.
Patrick?
I mean, Jim, I feel like you and I have been talking about it. There's who do you give the ball to on every down? And you've seen Dooley constantly rotate guys in. That there's some people that we haven't even talked to yet or haven't even mentioned really in a while that I could see getting carries just because that's how Eric Dooley likes to work. He likes to put as many of his weapons out there. And it's easy to talk about the George Quarles. It's easy to talk about Kobe Dillon. Kendrick Rhymes has a lot of things. But I think it's CJ Russell is a guy from Grambling State who kind of carries himself with a good confidence of, what his role is going to be on this team. And he knows that it's an uphill battle. And I think when you have that in front of you and you're working harder to try to break through when there's already kind of an established pecking order, I think you get some really good runs. That's kind of what happened with Ligon last year. When he was given his opportunities, ran right by guys. But it's a stable, as Harold Blood has said before. Which one do you want to ride for this possession, or maybe just these couple plays? And it's going to be up to Dooley. And the one thing that I think we'll see a lot of is them in the passing attack. We saw it last year. I think it's going to be even more prevalent, and just kind of the skill sets they have and how this offense is going to move with a quarterback who you trust running or moving the ball down the field the way you want to.
I think what happens in practice is the more they practice, there are certain plays that he likes to call, say, for Rhymes. He does this play better than Quarles, and he does it better than Dillon. But I think when they get to the goal line, they're going to want Dillon in the game because he's got a little bit more of a power game. And then Quarles is a good receiver too. He and Rhymes are going to be great on third down, but there are probably plays that the coaches will earmark for a certain player, he runs this play better than the other two. And so you'll see a lot of that, but he's going to rotate them. I think most teams, what they do is the first back end goes the first two series. And then the third and fourth series, you can see somebody else. And then maybe they go back to the first one, then to the third one. So, it'll have something to do with how they're performing in the game and who's focused, who's ready to play. And it's good to have three guys that you can depend on to do everything. And it looks like that's what they've got. It's amazing that they lost their top three rushers, and there's so much optimism about the backfield because there is and there should be.
Yeah, and to your point, I think we've been talking about rotations. I think you'll see some will be designated certain plays, but overall, I think you'll see I don't want to say a plethora, but you'll see a little bit of everybody, particularly early on in the season. Impact players that you see. This is a good one. Impact players for this 2023 football season for Southern.
I've got one that I feel like maybe isn't getting talked enough, and he won't have the largest impact on the team, but I think he will, definitely have an impact is Darren Morris, guy who redshirted last year, was at Southern Lab. He's played on the Bluff plenty of football, and he's one that internally I think they're very excited about and the abilities that he kind of has. They had that live scrimmage that we weren't allowed at a couple of weeks ago, and he had a big catch and a touchdown catch that Dooley kind of told us about. He's currently kind of running with the 1-2s, but that wide receiver room, there's 8 people deep. It's going to be hard for anyone to separate. I think an easy answer would kind of be like Jalen Howard, someone who they featured early on. But man, I'm excited to see what Darren Morris is able to put out because he's an all-state caliber kid. He understands the offense. He kind of sat the entire last year. If you check the stats, didn't record any. I think he's someone who, we're not talking about enough, but can really have an impact just with his natural abilities and what he kind of offers to this team.
Yeah, I saw him in the spring game, and he was running. I know it's a spring game, but he was doing well. Jim?
Yeah, I'll go defense. I'll say Dimitri Morcel, who didn't play last year. He was an All-American corner at Bowie State, and it's some kind of administrative snafu. But he and Jordan Carter came to Southern together, and Carter turned out to be a pretty good safety for him. But they need somebody that will tackle. And so what they did is they moved him to safety, and they moved Tyler Judson into the nickel. And I think that's going to be a really impactful move. I think you'll see Morcel make a lot of tackles. He can cover. He's probably a better cover guy than Corion Harris was. And then the other guy on defense is the guy I mentioned before, Rasheed Lyles. Oh. He had a pretty good year. He was in the starting rotation. He may have been in like the 3-tackle rotation for Louisiana Tech last year. But what he gives them is he allowed them to move Taj Brown to end. And he didn't play in the scrimmage, and he didn't play in the first 2 scrimmages. But I think they're kind of saving him and going to kind of unleash him in the first game. But he's going to if he can be disruptive with him and Davin Cotton and Christian Zachary, the 3-tackle rotation on defense, that's where your defense starts. Is those guys in the middle gumming up the works and penetrating into the backfield and throwing the timing off on running and passing plays. So I think I would look for some impact from those 2 guys.
Coach Pettaway, I think you may say Gary Qualls Jr. Am I wrong? Yeah.
No, you're not wrong.
Because he's prejudiced. That's why he's seen that. He knows.
I think they're gonna. Your Southern fan, the Jaguar Nation is going to enjoy Gary Qualls, and he's a fine young man. He's a better person. He's a great football player, but he did it for us, running in football and in passing situations. He can catch the ball coming out of the backfield, and so I think he'll be a big addition to that offense.
With that being said, 2 quick things left. Offensive linemen. Those big guys, both on defense line and offensive line, they don't get the credit, but they're ultimately so important. And then we'll follow that point up with special teams play. Griffin, Bo playing punter, Braxton. I just love him to death. The long snapper. I just get excited when he gets the perfect snap, and then he's the first guy down the field to make the tackle, or at least the first guy down there. But the O-line and special team play, Pat.
Yeah, I think a defensive line is a position where you saw a lot of guys leave just because of their graduation. They ran out of eligibility. And we talked to them every single week, it felt like. So I thought maybe it was going to be a weak spot for this team kind of heading into fall camp. Like, how do you replace Cam Peterson, Ivy, Dumas, just these humongous bodies that have a lot of experience, and Davin Cotton, the surprise name you kind of see on the roster that you're like, oh, he's back after not being with the team at all last year. Kelby Givens is now in a spot where he's more reps than ever before, and they're so incredibly high on him, even though he's just a sophomore. I think he's kind of the one that will determine how this rest of the unit will play, because he gets to the quarterback so relentlessly the entire game, and it looks effortlessly. And another guy they lost, Trey Lang, someone who was there in the spring game, went to Indiana over the summer. He's gone. It really creates an opportunity for Kelby Givens to step up and kind of have, I don't want to, put that label on him as like a Jordan Lewis type season, but, one where he can get a bunch of sacks, put himself on the national scale and really excel. I see Jim making faces over there, but I don't know, man. I feel like everything that we hear about him and the work that he puts in, it's screaming kind of a breakout year where he's kind of fully able to shine without other people around him, taking away reps that he could be on the field for like a 3rd down situation where the quarterback's dropping back, and a sack is an opportunity for sure.
Well, you were asking about the offensive line. Yeah, I mean, you had, like I said, Dooley rotated offensive linemen last year. They were in and out. So even though he lost 2 of their best in Dallas Black and Jeremiah Stafford, they had 4 guys coming back that started at least 4 games. So the turnover there wasn't it didn't hurt them too bad. And 4 of those guys are going to be out there. They've been slow to get Bernard Childs back. He's going to be their center, but he hasn't played center before. That could be a weak spot. I don't know. We'll have to see how he does it. Right now, Kyrie Wade's playing center, but the 2 tackles have finally caught on. They were both young guys. They got there through the transfer portal last year, and they took turns on the side opposite of Stafford. They both had several starts, and I think that's as good a tackle combination as you're going to see in the SWAC. And then special teams. I mean, you got a guy, Josh Griffin, since the day he got on campus, as soon as he arrived on campus, he had the strongest leg. He was putting kicks in the end zone. He put almost half of his kickoffs in the end zone last year. He won the kicking job. He won the field goal, the place kicking job from Luke Jackson. And he was accurate, 6 out of 9 field goals. And then Robin's Beauplan, who's got the best punter, but Southern. And Robin's Beauplan, he's the best interview. He's the best punter. He's a holder on the field goals, and just a delightful personality, a real fun guy to talk to, an interesting past. He's from Haiti, grew up in Haiti. So the special teams is going to be better. And I'll tell you one more thing. The thing that's going to make it better is when they signed a bunch of linebackers that aren't going to start. They're going to play some, but they're going to fill in on special teams, and they're going to give them people that they can play on special teams that can run, get down, and hit. These 3 linebackers: Mike Jones, Willie Matthews, and Joshua Tate. So guys like that, even if they don't contribute a lot on snaps, on regular defensive snaps, they'll help out tremendously on special team coverage.
And Coach Pettaway's guy who we interviewed on this show, a lot of the guys we talked about, we got a chance to talk with them in the summer. Punt return, kickoff return, quals. You just have a plethora of guys that you can use. And that was an interesting point you made, Jim, about those linebackers being on that kickoff coverage. And if they're getting a lot of work, that means Southern scoring a lot of points. That's a good thing when they're kicking off.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. Quarles is going to be a return guy. Chandler Whitfield's an underrated return guy. He, the way teams punt now, you don't see very many punt returns, but he broke a couple last year. He had one long one, and the thing is, he's fearless. A couple of years ago, Southern had trouble with guys really wanting to catch the ball. Well, he's not afraid to catch the ball. He'll get it caught, and that's that's the most important part.
Braylon Morgan is another guy who you could kind of see back there. They really like his speed and his ability to miss tackles. I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of break off a few big runs and give him a decent spot to start the ball.
Well, you're absolutely right. And earlier we talked about expectations, and for this football team, the fans will be happy at the end of the year if Southern is fill in the blank, Pat. I know it sounds simple, but and Jim, they'll be happy because Southern has fill in the blank.
I mean, I would say SWAC West champion, but it didn't feel like people were very happy at the end of this year with that. So they'll be happy if they're the SWAC champion, really, I think. And when you look at it, they have another shot to be in that game. It's just about taking care of business early in the season where you're not relying on Mississippi Valley State to win a game that they shouldn't win, or Texas Southern to, blow a game. If they take care of their business early, then they will be in a position where they are fully in control. And they had that at moments, but it's the times in between where there's the lax and the not showing up for games where you really need to be there. So I think they'll be happy with the SWAC championship. Will they be happy with anything else? Probably not.
That's the Jaguar Nation, Jim.
I'm not sure Southern fans will be happy if they win the Celebration Bowl.
Oh my goodness!
I'm not sure if they don't win by enough points. The bottom line is they've got to win the SWAC this year. Dion's gone. Okay, so even if just Dion's presence made it a myth that Jackson State was unbeatable, That's beside the point. But now, the path there doesn't look as formidable, to the conference championship. Like Patrick said, 10 years. They haven't won a national championship in 20 years, and that's what Pete Richardson did a lot. So Dooley knew he was coming here and he was going to get compared to Pete. And after 2 seasons, the bottom, the least accomplishment they need to get to is a SWAC championship.
Yeah, I hear from a lot of fans it's Atlanta or bust, but hell, they say that every year, literally. So expectations are high, and I guess that's the way it should be. Pat and Jim, I appreciate the time. Oh, by the way, who wins tonight? Let's just put it out there. Jackson State or South Carolina State on national TV post Coach Sanders. Who do you like, Jim?
I'm going to go with Buddy Pugh, the sentimental choice in this one. He announced his retirement. They're going to win one for Buddy, I think, and they're going to come out really fired up. I think there's just a lot of a transition going on at Jackson State, and it's going to take some time for that to sort out.
Well, Jackson State fans, they're like Southern fans. They still expect the goal at the end of the day. Pat?
Yeah, I think this is one that Jackson State's been preparing for a long time to kind of prove that they will be back. There's no drop off. Hey, there's one guy gone, and they lose a lot of production. So they're a team that it's kind of dumb to pick them, but why not? Pick them this week. They play their heart out. Then they come to Mumford next week, and they're all tired out, and Jags win that. So I'll give ASU this first week one game, but not the second one. How about that?
All right.
Hey, we'll take it. Coach Pettaway, I'll save yours. I'll save yours for a little bit later in the show. But you'll give your predictions. But Jim and Pat, appreciate the time. Enjoy your last free Saturday for a while. How about that?
My pleasure, Carlos.
All
Anytime.
right.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. That was Pat, Timlin, and Jim Kleinpeter joining us here on the Coles Brown Show. Wheeler Brown's coming up next. We missed him last week, so we're glad to have him back. But before we do that, Coach Pettaway, I got to get that footage in of Gary Qualls and taking it to the house. It will warm your heart, and it warms my heart. But, it's interesting. You talk about chemistry. You talk about fall camp. We've been talking about that. But you made the point. It's time to just hit somebody in another uniform.
Right.
And I guess the Jaguars, there he goes, Gary Qualls. Referee's in good shape too, but he had a start. But listen to Gary, and we had a chance to interview him on the show. Lately, he said he fitted right in with Southern. Playing in the SWAC before, coming in, the guys made him feel very welcome. And then Coach even mentioned the cuisine in the article. The food.
Right. See, that's the thing when you deal with a transfer or you bring a kid on a recruiting trip, it's the players that are already there that could really sell a kid on the program. And when you listen at his interview, he talked about how well he was received when he did visit, and he knew that that's where he wanted to be. And if a kid has his mind made up that he wants to be in a certain place and he feels that atmosphere when he gets there, it's a done deal. And when it comes to that Southern cuisine, we get seafood here in Huntsville, but not like it's in Louisiana though. So he's in a good place, and I'm already preparing my taste buds for I think it's September the 16th. When I hit the city, I'm gonna hit the city on the 15th. But I'm looking forward to that trip, and I'm just looking forward to just visiting with another conference school, and being in the SWAC is just great, man. And you get a chance to meet and see a lot of people. So I'm just looking forward to seeing all of you all when A&M comes to town in September.
Well, Charles Edmond loves crawfish. Well, I won't dare ask you about that, but Coach Pettaway, you by next week, give us what you would like to eat on your visit. I think I know what you're gonna say, but it's always good to hear from the source.
All right, I got you.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll take a timeout when we come back. We're scheduled to visit with Willa Brown, and we still got to get in a little NBA talk as well. Coach Pettaway, I think you're on Charles Edmonds' bandwagon now. You don't think Damon's coming, but I'm still working behind the scene, Coach. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I'm also looking at some other players to fill in the roster after it happens. If it doesn't happen, Coach Pettaway, I'm going to Tibet and I'm going to become a monk. How about that? That's how confident I am, I guess. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be right back.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em. It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, clean bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum design for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
I guess we're going to end up getting all of the swag bands in there. That was the sounds of Dynamite. We do have FAMU in the rotation, of course, the Jukebox. Before we get to Wheeler, and we're glad to have him back, the Blue and Gold Centric Club is a supporter of the Carlos Brown Show. They are proud supporters of Jaguar Athletics. The Blue and Gold Club will have first-class bus trips to all of Southern University's away football games. That's important. I've traveled on the buses before. You talking about fun. They never let me sleep. I like that. They like for me to talk, and that I can do. Travel with the Blue and Gold Club to Montgomery, Alabama on September the 2nd for only $165, which includes a game ticket, refreshments. Parents of Southern University football players receive a special discount. For more information, call Craig Pierre at 225-324-7234. Wheeler, good afternoon. Are you staying in the cool climate, or is it smoking where you're at?
It's not exactly smoking, Carlos, but it is a little warm. Yeah, but it's not you guys kind of warm. So I thank God for that. So no complaints here. That's for sure.
Guess what, Will and Coach Pettaway? Today it will break a record in Baton Rouge of all time. It has been over 100 degrees pretty much every day in August. Yesterday, high of 105, 106. Who's going to argue over 1 degree? And the heat index was just short of 120. So it will break an all-time record today. The expected high today, another 105.
That's brutal.
Good thing, though, there is a good thing. The humidity is a little bit short of 50%, which where you get your heat index and your dew point and all that good stuff. I'm blessed every day that I'm up and I'm alive.
Yep.
With that being said, but Will, I could send something with you.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I'll take a pass on that one, Carlos.
And Coach Pettaway said Huntsville's been hot. I mean, it's just
but not that hot though. Wow, that's something else there, boy. And see, you think about it, the athletes, they got to get acclimated to that weather because they got to play. They're not going to postpone the games, and so that's why, to me, this time of the year, that's why depth is so important on your team. Because when you're playing in that heat and humidity, you got to be able to rotate people in that you feel comfortable with, so that you can keep fresh bodies on the field, and that's what you're looking for. But there's been a heat wave that has just hit the entire country. So I think from the East Coast all the way to the West, it's just been hot.
Yeah, and plus you gotta look at those 5 p.m. start times now. I heard you talking about that before, Carlos. Yeah. And while we all think that it may provide us with the home field advantage or something to that nature, does it really? I mean, it's hot on both sides of the field, that sort of thing and stuff. That's something that Southern needs to take a look at in terms of the starting times for their home games. I'm sure they've looked at it, that sort of thing, and I'm sure there's some logical explanations behind the 5 p.m. start times. But it's this time of the year is brutal. I can see it maybe going into October, that sort of thing. But going into September, the whole month of September, it's pretty much brutal down there, and so you want to be mindful of situations and possibilities.
Well, next Saturday, this time next week, Southern will be in game mode, and Montgomery is 5 p.m. And I've had people to ask, do you think how hard would it be to move it? That would be on Alabama State at 5 p.m. Montgomery's hot. I don't know if it has been as hot. I'll have to look and check as Baton Rouge has been. But it is something to consider. And now the following week, Southern's home opener, the Pete Richardson Classic, is 6 p.m. And I can tell you 6 p.m. is just as hot as 4 p.m. to me from what I've seen. But from an AD perspective, Wheeler, how hard is it if you would consider moving the time back? Because people have asked me about that, but if that was going to be done, wouldn't it have been done maybe weeks ago? I'm not sure.
Yes, and probably should have something that probably should have been looked at weeks ago. You don't want to get up on game week and start throwing a whole lot of changes around, that sort of thing. People have made reservations and hotels and all this sort of thing. They've circled these particular games for the past 6-7 months, and so to throw a monkey wrench at them at the last minute is not being fair to your fan base also. But when you are deciding exactly how it is you want to go about your game planning and things of that nature, it's something that needs to be thoroughly discussed well ahead of time so that you can make those changes on the front end and not appear to be reactive on the tail end.
Well, and Coach Pettaway and Wheeler, can we discuss this? It's not, it's some people watching and listening, but at our tailgating, and once again, we're going to incorporate the heat into this. I think fans be mindful of what you eat, hydrate, and let's just talk about it. In that tailgating, there's going to be some alcoholic beverages. Please be careful, because I'm looking in the press box the last time Jackson came to Southern, and I almost could spot people that were not going to make it. The Red Cross and those type of people were very busy because it's the beginning of the year. They're going to want to tailgate. They're going to have fun, but just be mindful and try to eat good. Now, that's hard to say here in Baton Rouge because you'll see from A to Z the different type of meats and dishes, but just be mindful of the heat when you're deciding all of that. Am I making sense? Is that
you're making perfect sense, Carlos, and it's hard to say that anywhere. Because it's football season, and people have been gearing up for this. The folks said there are only 2 seasons. That's football season and getting ready for football season. And and people have been getting ready for this for a long time. And to think that they're not going to go out there and overindulge and have a good time, things of that nature, you're just fooling yourself if you think that they're not. You just want to make sure that you're doubling up on EMTs, you're doubling up on medical personnel. You're in that kind of mode as an athletic administrator, to where, like I said, you're being on the front end and not being reactive on the back end. So, it means that you're paying EMTs, more than you would normally pay them, because you're going to have maybe 2 or 3 ambulances on site, that sort of thing. Not only do you have to worry about kids falling out on the field, but you also got to worry about people falling out in the stands, things of that nature. And, you want to make sure that every eventuality is going to be taken care of, so, it's difficult planning, no doubt about that.
Yeah. And AD Brown, let me hit you with something. Now, when you said earlier about you not wanting to change the times for the fans, well, if you change the time for the fans, it would be in their favor. I would look at it this way. Yeah, 4 or 5 weeks ago, we didn't know that it was going to be this hot. We're seeing some unprecedented times when it comes to this heat. And if you looking at the welfare of your fans and your players, Southern's home game is 2 weeks away. There's enough time for them to make that decision without inconveniencing too many people, because we're not switching it from an afternoon to a night game. We're just moving it. We're making a night game just maybe an hour or 2 hours later. And then for most people, if you go into that game, you've made your reservations, you were probably already going to stay overnight anyway. The problem is going to come in for the people who are going to make it a one-day trip. They would have come down and say, well, since it's an early ball game, after the game, we can leave and go back home. But I think that might be few or far in between. But when you look at the total picture, changing the game times would not be, to me now, would not be that big of an inconvenience because it is so hot and it's
And I
normally.
agree with you. I agree with you, Coach Pettaway. There's no doubt about that. It shouldn't be that difficult from an athletic administrative point of view. I mean, you got documentation on your side. You got history on your side.
Right.
You know from being around that area for umpteen years, what have you, what the weather is like or likely to be like during that time period. While it may not be 110, historically it's been in the upper 90s or it's been close to 100.
Right.
So at that time of the year, it's still going to be very hot in that particular area. So my thing is, why not fix it on the front end when you're planning? When you're doing all this planning in the beginning, let's go ahead and plan for a 7 o'clock game or just plan for a night game during the month of September. If I'm playing at home in September, we're going to play at night. And then as, we get into October, it's starting to cool down a little bit. Then if we want to switch to the afternoon games, that sort of thing, then, we're kind of satisfying everybody. Because, there are quite a few people, like you just said, that make a day trip out of this thing.
Right.
They want to come in, have a good time, and then try to get home before midnight, that sort of thing and stuff. And, so, you're not going to, quote unquote, please everybody all the time, but you want to be mindful of everybody. And if there's somewhere that you can be all inclusive, the best that you can, then you want to be able to do that, for the sake of your fan base. Plus, Coach Pettaway, I'm thinking about these kids more so than anything else, and, while they're going to be in tip-top shape and things of that nature, at the same time, you don't want to put them through any undue stress or strain. I mean, most of our schools are practicing in the heat, things of that nature. So are we really getting a competitive advantage by playing at 5? Do we think that nobody else in Louisiana is Grambling practicing, in the heat? Is Texas Southern practicing in the heat? Is Jackson State practicing in the heat? So, is it really going to be an issue for them like you may think it could possibly be, to where you think you may have a competitive advantage by scheduling your game times the way that you do?
Right. And then the other thing that Carlos talked about, I think the fans and the students, we have to understand about the heat. You got to address accordingly. The other thing is, you got to hydrate, and maybe not with all those alcoholic beverages. You got to be mindful. You got to be mindful. Because I think health is the most important thing when you talk about supporting your team out there in that heat. So all that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about everybody, because I remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about and I think you can safely say in our conference, most of our fan base, I think if you put in the information and all the data in there, our average fan base across the board is a little older, like my age and above. So mindful of those. So all I'm saying, just be careful out there, because Mother Nature and the climate, they're undefeated right now, and so we just want to mind ourselves accordingly on those issues. Let's move on now. Couple of things here. Buddy Pugh, we talked about it in hour number 1. Will, I'm sure you've met him, you know him personally.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's decided to say, hey, I'm hanging it up after 47 years. We said that he deserves to go out on his own terms. A term or something special about Wheeler that Coach Pugh, that we perhaps don't know that you can tell us about.
Well, Buddy Pugh and I played at the. He was a running back at South Carolina State, and I was offensive tackle at North Carolina A&T. And so, I mean, matter of fact, I think my sophomore year was probably his freshman year at South Carolina State. So he's lifelong, Bulldog, great guy. I mean, you're not going to find a better coach, someone who cares more about the players, that sort of thing. And I think his career has always been underrated. He's won numerous championships, no doubt about that, and has done a great job. But I think when you look at some of the other coaches, when you look at Pete Richardson, when you look at, some of these other coaches, Big John Merritt, and, some of these other guys that, we say their names with reverent pride and all that sort of thing. For some reason, Buddy Pugh's name is not mentioned in that quote unquote Mount Rushmore. And he should be right up there with them, because he's always done an outstanding job. I mean, he's taken South Carolina State through various motions in terms of, financial issues and things of that nature. He had them up there when, the money was flowing like everybody believes that it should. And, he still had them up there when, he's rubbing two pennies together trying to get it done, that sort of thing. And like I said, I don't think that he gets enough credit for the job that he has done at South Carolina State, over the years. No doubt about that. But he should go down as one of the greats of black college football. No ifs, ands, and buts about that. And I would like to see him at some point in time kind of get his just desserts, that sort of thing. He's not a guy that's going to brag and, all up in your face and all that sort of thing. He ain't got no prime in him and all that kind of stuff. But he gonna let you know he's there, and when he got that foot on your neck, he's gonna squeeze it a little tough. He's gonna grind it. He's gonna grind it into the ground, and at some point in time, he's gonna let you know, you really shouldn't have said that about me, whatever it was that you said, that sort of thing. So, but he's a great guy all the way around, Carlos. It really is.
Right. And Willie, Mr. A.D. Brown, you're correct, because I think it's his personality, because he's got that laid-back personality that I think that's probably the reason why he has gotten his just due. But when you look at his resume, you're talking about 146 wins already at South Carolina. He's won 46 and 87. He's won 12 and 42 in conference play at South Carolina State. And you mentioned earlier about the championships, man. This guy's unbelievable when you start looking at his coaching record, because he's won 4 outright MEAC championships, and he shared in 5 others. To me, I'm not a mathematician, but that's about 9 now. So that's pretty good. And then you think about the number of players that he's coached over the years, man, the impact that he's made on these young people's lives, and the positive people that he's put out there. So he's a nice man, and in the hour number 1, I did tell him I had an opportunity to meet him when he came to Alabama A&M. So I know about that coaching tree with Coach Jeffries, and then of course our football coach Anthony Jones. All of those guys tutored under Coach Jeffries, and so got a chance to meet all of them, and to include Coach Jeffries. And by the way, that is one funny man. That man will make
no doubt.
Yeah, man, that guy is something else, man. Coach Jeffries.
No doubt.
So, that's why I say this thing about athletics. See, to me, Carlos, is more than just, I'm a basketball coach, but I'm a fan of athletics.
Yes,
all sports, man. So that's why I've come in contact with all these people, because I'm there. I want to be a part of it. I just don't want to see and meet the basketball coaches. I want to meet all coaches who are in this grind to help these students. We're trying to win, but the biggest thing is we're trying to win these kids, help these kids win in the game of life. And that's what makes all of us a brotherhood. And then just to be around those guys to get that wisdom from them, man, has been remarkable for me, man. And I really love it and I really like it. And I'm looking forward to it. And I just want Coach Pugh I want him, Coach, to go out the way he wants to go out. I want him to go out as a winner, and I want him to go out on his own terms like he's doing. So that's my hats off to him.
Yeah, and you know, we use some adjectives or some words with Coach Pugh, but I like to add another one in the word room: consistency, because that's what I'm hearing from him. And I talked about his teams, his characteristics: physical, tough, fundamentally sound. No, they didn't spread you out 4 and 5 wideouts all the time, but the foundation, running the football, strong defense, and special teams play. Because believe it or not, no matter what type of offense you run, schemes, schematics, all of that, it goes back to what, Will and Coach Pettaway? The foundation.
That's right.
Still go back to the foundation.
That's right.
Block. You still got to tackle.
That's right.
And you got to be who you are.
That's right.
And when I look at South Carolina State, now that leads me into tonight. I'm seeing in the chat room, you know, you got to love the JSU fans. I don't hate on them because they're just like Southern fans. Cocky and arrogant. Very cocky and arrogant. They think they're going to have an easy time, some of them. I beg to differ.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be easy. I think Jackson State is going to have what it takes. See, this is my take on Jackson State in this game. First of all, not only do you have Coach Taylor, who wants to prove that we already know Jackson State is in him all through his blood.
Yep.
You know, that's his place. That's his place. Well, he wants to prove to people that he should have been the coach a long time ago. So you got that. Then you got these players who have returned. They want to show the world and themselves that they can win without Coach Prime there. They want to show them that, look, this is JSU. We're going to win regardless. We were winning before Coach Prime got here. We're going to win after he's gone. And that's so that's what I think is going into this game tonight, leading up into this game tonight. I think all those factors are going to come into play. And I just think those kids from Jackson State are going to be ready to play. But it's going to be a little bit tougher now because Coach Pugh has announced his retirement. So now his kids are going to elevate their game because they want to sit him out in style.
And I just don't think you bet against. I don't think you bet against Buddy Pugh in a big game, and that's just my sentimental feeling concerning that. I don't have a dog in the race either way.
Is that
but
Coach Taylor coming in, Wheeler?
Coach Taylor has something to prove. You know, no ifs, ands, and buts about that. And as Coach Pettaway said, you know, those kids that Prime left behind, you know, they're going to feel like they got something to prove also, you know. But for South Carolina State, you know, they don't feel like they have anything to prove. They feel like they're going out here to be South Carolina State, you know, and it's what they do, and it's the work ethic that they bring every day, you know. And as Coach Pettaway was saying, Buddy Pugh announcing his retirement at the end of the season, that just kind of added a little bit more icing to the cake, you know, in terms of kids wanting to send him out with a bang in every big game. So it's going to be interesting. You know, I think it's going to be maybe a tale of two cities. TC Taylor might want to throw that ball around and all that sort of thing and stuff. Buddy Pugh and them are going to smash mouth you. They coming down your throat. You know, you're going to have to stop the run. You're going to have to stop the, you know, short intermediate passing game, that sort of thing. They're gonna fundamentally beat you to death. And so I just think it's going to be a good game. I can't wait. That's for sure.
And South Carolina State, you know, South Carolina State is 3-1 in the MEAC/SWAC challenges now. They're 3-1, and then the last time they played Jackson was in the bowl game, right? And so Jackson State they still got that bitter taste in their mouth from that loss. And so this is going to be a very interesting game, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to miss a play.
And you know, and it's interesting. I can see South Carolina State. I think Jackson State defensively. And by the way, let me just say this. Coach Thurman last year on the staff was the MVP of that staff. You know, defensively, he had that team ready to play. I think if you're Jackson State, you got to put South Carolina State in third and longs. And I think South Carolina State is going to want to be successful running it, passing it, just to keep the edge there. But if they're in third and short, they're going to believe that they can be able to run the football and pick up the first down. And then they're going to want to have ball control and keep Jackson State's offense off the field. And South Carolina State is very good at doing that. I've seen them in person play. You know, some people say, "Oh, it's boring." No, but we go back to the fundamentals again. Strong defense, running game, and don't beat yourself. We'll add that to as special teams. So it's going to be very interesting. Then the styles of play. That has been a lot of conversation in the past. North Carolina Central, when they won the Black College Championship last year, after the game, one of their stout offensive linemen basically said, "We the MEAC, that's the difference. We win the game in the trenches. We're a more physical team in conference." So I'm gonna be looking at that as well. You got two different type of styles of play, and the SWAC is a little bit more wide open. Well, not a little bit more, but wide open. The MEAC, it's more running the ball, physical, and rely on the defense. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of that plays together. And then it's the first game of the season. The excitement. And then, of course, you know, you're in great conditioning. You think you are. But you'll see a lot of cramping and all those just normal things in game one. So if it comes down to the coaching aspect, you got experience. And you said it. Coach T.C. Taylor, I know for a fact, has been ready to be a head coach years ago. So he's going to want to prove it. So you got all these intangibles. I can't wait.
Right. Yep, I think you're absolutely correct. And then, you know, football has kicked off, but also in the SWAC now, you know, they've kicked off soccer and volleyball. So all the SWAC, the fall SWAC programs are on the way. And we're just looking forward to another great SWAC season.
And you know, the band they've had fall camp. They've been practicing. I'll invoke a name, Dr. Isaac Greggs. He once told me, "Oh, they're talking about the athletes. Yeah, they're in shape, but the best conditioned athlete, student athletes on the campus is the band." And he told me that, and I looked at him and I was like, "Well, I'm not going to disagree." He's one of the few people that really I wasn't intimidated by, but guess what? I listened when he spoke, along with and I don't know if you guys remember Jewel Promise, Mama Jaguar. That was another lady. When she called me, "Hey, come here, radio man," I was like, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble." I think my blood pressure just dropped. But you talked about it earlier. Just the relationships that you've built over the years. In my career, some of the people that I've met, from Eddie Robinson, Willie Brown, man, Pettaway, I mean, you look at those relationships and you appreciate them. You really do. And I always say I can learn from each and every one, from Isaac Greggs on down.
That's the name of the game, and that's what athletic does to you, man. It's a melting pot of different people and personalities, and it'll stay with you for your life.
Oh, no doubt about it. And take you places you never thought that you would go or even think about going, really.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we kind of talked about the game. I thought I heard predictions, but I wasn't sure. So maybe let me rephrase it. Predictions tonight. South Carolina State, Jackson State. Coach Pettaway, who's going to win, in your opinion?
Well, I think I'm going to stay with the SWAC. I think Jackson State is going to win, come out. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Jackson State and Coach Taylor find a way to win this.
Wheeler?
I'm going South Carolina State by a touchdown. Looking for a good, hard, physical game. Looking for ball control out of South Carolina State, clock control, and looking for them to, ultimately pull that thing out by a touchdown.
Wow, that means one prediction for Jackson State, one for South Carolina State. Am I the tiebreaker? On this broadcast? Uh-oh. I can't use somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. I can't use that, right? I can't go with a tie, right? Well, I'll dial up the cliche of my heart goes for one, my head goes for the other. The heart and head prediction, HHP. My heart says I'm going for Jackson State because I'm a swag. You want the swag to win. My head says, though, after the announcement, and I understand emotions are only a part of the game. It does come back to execution in the X and O's. So my head says South Carolina State because they're physical, tough, and whether they win or lose, you will know you've been in a fight, a ball game with South Carolina State. So with that being said, my head says South Carolina State in a close one. So my prediction, looking at it, I'm going to piss off the Jackson State people, and I'm going to say South Carolina State wins in a tough slobber knocker. And I'm going to say something like 24-21. But I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll come back and say I was wrong, and I'll blame it on Charles Edmonds, as always.
And Carlos, another thing that we have missed this week, we haven't talked about, the World Games are going on, and our men's basketball team, they have struggled in some of their exhibition games, and they just won their first game for the live champion, the real World Games now. But in their exhibitions, they played a couple close ones, and it's got a lot of people worried. Do you feel that we should be worried right now about our World Cup basketball team?
Now, do we have our professionals, or are we using our amateurs?
Yeah, they got professionals. It's all professionals. It's all professionals.
I'm gonna say this, Coach Pettaway, and this may be a bit controversial, but yeah, you should be worried. But I remember with the influx of European players in the collegiate and the professional ranks, I think. Remember, we were just talking about Coach Pugh and that toughness and that physicality. I think we lost some of that.
Yep.
Because, their style is more finesse. And so now it has been implemented in the NBA. I heard Michael Jordan said if he was playing now, he could average 50 points a game or more. You used to hand check. You can't do that anymore. They carved that tight. So I think we kind of lost our identity. And I could be wrong, just my opinion. So yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried.
I don't know that it means as much to us now as it did to the older guys. The young guys, just to me, no knock against the younger guys or anything like that. I don't know that the pride is what it should be all the time. When you're dressed in that flag, that sort of thing, you going out to represent, the USA, just doesn't seem like we grind into that extra gear that we need in terms of getting over the hump, in terms of bringing that physicality that we may necessarily need to the table, in terms of selling out all the time, that sort of thing. It just seems like I just don't see that kind of attitude being portrayed by our kids. And maybe it's because, I think Coach Pettaway was saying, the European game is, I'm going to call it soft, call it what it is. But the European game is not as physical, that sort of thing. So, maybe we're trying to bring that mode of play to the table as opposed to our, physicality. Let's grind it out. You come to the hole, you're going to get a hard foul. So forth and so on. And I think if we start bringing that back to the table, then we'll start to get back to the dominance that we used to have.
Right, and then one of the other things too. Now, a lot of the top players are not on this team. This team is being led by Brunson, Brunson from the Knicks, Jackson from Memphis, and then Edwards from the Timberwolves. Now, he's their best player. He has shown that he's the best player. And this morning they played New Zealand, and they won that game 99-72. But they played a lot of close games in those exhibitions. But that's something for us to look forward to, because now you play the World Games this year, and then next year you back into the Olympics, and maybe they'll have a different squad then. But it's going to be interesting for us to see on the basketball side of it if we're going to continue to dominate international play when we do play in international ball. And then the other side of this, Carlos, on the track side, United States is holding their own when it comes to track, because you just had Noah Lyles to do the double-double. He won the 100 and the 200, and then of course we had Sha'Carri Richardson to win the 100 to be the fastest woman in the world. She wasn't able to pull a double-double. She finished third. She got a bronze medal in the 200, but United States overall is looking pretty good in the world's games.
Well, two quick things, Coach Pettaway. Because I remember you bringing your A&M teams in and FG Clark. When I think about your team, it's always been defense and being physical. Right. You heard what I said and heard what Willard stated. Is there a point to that? The physicality, and I understand some of the best players are not playing, but I just like the 90s ball and the 80s ball with a no layup rule. And of course, I'm going to plug in my Miami Heat team. They're the closest thing, I think, well, one of the closest teams to that type of style. Talk about that. And then track and field. Am I wrong? I always pull for the USA and Jamaica. What a competition.
Yeah.
In track and field. Oh my goodness. Because when I look and when I look at the Jamaican team and I look at the American team, I see people that look like me.
Oh, yeah.
So what a competition that is.
Right. It is. I'm going to start with the basketball first. I think if we cannot, because the NBA is so soft now, it hurts us when we get into international competition, because some of those places, they are more physical than us. So if we were to go back to the 80s, you let the NBA go back to where it was more physical, it'll help the kids, it'll help the players when they do get in the international ball, because that's what's lacking, being physical, having the dominant players in the paint. Because right now we're playing finesse basketball. You look at Jaren Jackson; he's not even a center; he's a power forward. Both of the guys, the bigs that they've taken for the U.S. team, they play power forward in the NBA. They don't have a center on their team, on this World Cup team. So the World Championship team. So that's what you have to look at. And when it comes to track and field, you're absolutely correct. When you look at Sharika Jackson from Jamaica, she won the 200, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close when it came to the 200. Now she lost. Yes, she lost in the 100, but you got her. You got Kellyanne Fraser-Price, who she's like Wonder Woman, man. This lady has 3 children, and she is killing people on the track circuit. It's like Father Time has passed her by, because that lady can still fly, and she's like 36 years old, and 36 in track is considered old now. She's not old in life; she's just considered old for being on the track, but she's still getting it done. So you're right, and I'm looking forward to the 4x100, which is come later on this week in the next couple of days, but. Things are looking up for the United States, and you're absolutely correct, between Jamaica and the United States, they dominate track and field.
Mm-hmm.
Willa, I remember the late, great Johnny Thomas, track and field coach at Southern University. He told me at one point they used to always recruit and get student athletes from Jamaica.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think HBCUs need to get back on the trail.
Yeah, we did that for years.
Definitely.
We did that for years here at Alabama A&M.
Yeah.
We won 2 national championships. We had young ladies from Jamaica. So Coach Henderson, Joseph Henderson, who's our track coach for a number of years, he won the SIAC every time he put a team on the field. He won the SIAC championship in track. So you're right. We got to get back to that, bringing those international. But see, this is what is happening. The PWIs are getting them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, on that note, closing statements, if you have any, Willa, that's good to have you back.
It's always good to be with you guys, Carlos. Always make my Saturday. No ifs, ands, and buts about that. I'm going to get the popcorn and the peanuts and get my recliner ready for Buddy Pugh's final MEAC SWAC challenge tonight. And, root for the Bulldogs. Although I do got some heart there in Jackson now, so let's not get that part twisted. But it's always great being with you guys. And, as usual, anytime I can come on, I'm more than happy to share the forum with you guys.
All right. And I'm looking forward to the game tonight, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the SWAC season.
It's here, folks. College football, college athletics, soccer, volleyball. You've got a plethora of sports going on. I want to thank Brian Fulford for producing today's show. All of my colleagues at Black College Sports Network. Remember, like this stream, sign up for the notification, share it. We appreciate all of you. Let the conversation continue in the chat room. Boy, the Southern Jackson State fans, I'm telling you, they're cut from the same cloth, Willer. My goodness. Oh, my. They go at it. I'm going to have to come to Huntsville and relax to get away from all this pressure. It's a lot of pressure. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone, and make sure you tune in next Saturday for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until
this for you, Charles. This for you, Charles.
Oh,
wherever
my goodness, Willa.
Oh, Charles, wherever you are.
I thought we were going to get away without having that chant at one. So, until next Saturday at 11 a.m., peace and God bless.